In the turbulence of life, the masses cling to illusions of control, waving their fragile hands at storms they cannot influence, believing that complaint or despair will shield them from chaos. Yet the wind carries them regardless. Dry leaves in a relentless gale, they cry of stress, of fear, of storms of emotion, as though the world owes them comfort. Machiavelli, in observing both princes and commoners, discerned a truth that strikes deeper than morality. Peace is never given. It must be seized, claimed with the precision of a blade and the patience of a stone. Tranquility is not born from kindness, nor from virtue for its own sake, but from the disciplined governance of self and circumstance. A man who does not command his own mind will bow quickly to the whims of others, enslaved by impulses he could have mastered. Look to Renaissance Florence, a city of brilliance and terror, where allies became enemies overnight, where virtue was a mask, worn over the teeth of betrayal, and the Republic trembled on ambition's knife. Yet, amid chaos, some men stood immovable. Cesare Borgia, navigating storms by bending them to his will, teaches that inner stability is forged in the crucible of external turbulence. To live thus is not to drift with fortune, but to stand as rock against its currents, to master not only those around you, but the most unruly territory of all your own mind. The Stoics preached mastery of the self, but Machiavelli demanded it not as virtue, but as strategic necessity. A prince who cannot govern passion will lose his state. A man who cannot endure insult will never command respect. The first lesson, therefore, is not comfort, it is domination. Control your mind, or surrender your life to those who will. Purpose is the blade that cuts through the fog of uncertainty. Without it, a soldier wanders, a merchant drifts, a prince rules empty banners over an empty field. Epictetus said difficulties reveal character. Machiavelli adds, only those who define their mission can turn hardship into power. To suffer without aim is to be crushed. To struggle toward a vision is to be forged into iron. In Florence, vague dreams meant betrayal. A prince required a fixed star to navigate fortune's currents. Purpose is not inspirational, it is weapon, shield, compass. It is not inherited, it must be carved in solitude, tested in life's crucible. What do you serve? What will you sacrifice? These are not poetic musings. They are matters of survival. Once found, purpose must be defended like a fortress, manned daily, watched with suspicion. The enemy is always at the gates. Distraction, temptation, flattery, fear, agents of decay, often arriving in soft voices. To persevere is tyranny over weakness. Do not wait for motivation. Rise, act, persist. The Medici ruled Florence not by kindness but constancy. So must you guard your inner citadel with unrelenting discipline. Inner mastery does not eliminate feeling. It subordinates it. Machiavelli observed how men are easily swayed by fear, envy, and pride, becoming predictable, controllable. But the man who sees emotion as tool rather than tyrant gains an advantage few ever know. If insulted, he does not react. If praised, he remains indifferent. Power lies not in expression, but in restraint. Begin with vigilance. Observe your thoughts as a prince observes his court. Which thoughts betray? Which desires distract? Each must earn its place or be dismissed. You are both ruler and subject. Be just, but firm. Train through small acts of control. Finish tasks, limit pleasures, rise before comfort. Speak with intent. Discipline is sovereignty. Modern sentimentality seduces men with expression. Choose instead when to strike like a general surveying terrain. Extend this to your company. Your mind is a palace. Cowards plant fear. Fools falter. Seek allies who sharpen you. Let books be counsel. Solitude a fortress. The greatest enemy is often within. Betrayal of your own clarity, discipline, purpose is fatal. Examine each day. Did you act with purpose, rule impulses, serve ambition, praise, criticism, mob whims? None sway the man who governs himself. This is not coldness, it is power, the power that survives kingdoms. Your mind is a fortress. Its gates must be guarded not only against intruders, but against treachery from within. Republics crumble not from swords, but softness. He who fails to master thoughts becomes a servant to others' ideas. Insult, ridicule, slander, the weak react. The wise walk forward, unmoved, laying foundations no storm can shake. As Epictetus taught, disturbance comes from judgment, not events. Arm yourself. Let slander waste breath. React not. Choose battles. Master posture. Posture is influence. Restraint is earned in silence, in the sacred gap between impulse and action, where fools leap and wise men seize victory. Fortune favors the composed. Commanding emotions commands armies. The first enemy is oneself. Restraint is not passivity. It is timing, waiting until victory is inevitable. Apply this to words, judgments, ambition. Not every opportunity must be seized. Let fools exhaust themselves in motion while you advance by design. Guard focus, for distraction is plague. Today's men are consumed by novelty, vanity, immediacy. The true prince sees in arcs and lines, anticipates consequences, divorces from immediacy, silences noise, abandons the crowd. Comfort is the assassin of greatness. Harden thought, sharpen discipline until misfortune fears you. Offense, too, is a teacher. To be offended is to be controlled. Mastery is transforming insult into advantage. Ask, why does this wound me? What blind spot does it reveal? Use enemies as instructors. Wield forgiveness not as compassion but superiority. Forgiveness is power. Silence your response. Let growth be your revenge. Govern life by principle, not passion. Misunderstanding is not a threat. It is contrast. The greatest minds were exiled, silenced, scorned. Truth is rarely popular. You are here not to be loved, but to rise. Fear and shame are tools. They are neither enemy nor friend. They are to be mastered. Fear is most dangerous in the private soul, infecting thought and paralyzing action. Machiavelli knew this, and he demanded clarity. Disassemble fear into parts. What do you truly fear? Death? Learn, it is nature's decree. Shame? Its power requires consent. Failure? Study triumphs born from defeat. The path of power is never free from peril. Caesar crossed the Rubicon not because success was assured, but because paralysis was death. One who trembles at imagined ruin is already defeated. A kingdom internal lies in ruin before any enemy arrives. Fear is illusion magnified by weakness. A disciplined mind dissects it until only shadow remains. Rulers remain composed as cities burn, not heartless, but because panic is a luxury. Adopt posture of command. Over time, posture becomes truth, and you become what you practice. From fear and shame, move to foresight, the strategist's virtue. Many fail not because weak, but because surprised. Premeditatio malorum, the Stoic meditation on evils, is rehearsal. Machiavelli taught similarly. A prince must anticipate betrayal, unrest, fortune's reversal. Fortune punishes unready. She favors vigilant. Practice adversity in imagination. Rehearse responses. A strategist is not paralyzed. He is precise, tireless. He examines victories through anticipation. Today's ally, tomorrow's rival. Applause, envy. Never allow celebration to dull your edge. The Romans whispered to triumphing generals, remember mortality. Anticipation must become second nature. When others react, you act. When others collapse, you brace. This is clarity, the mother of resilience. You do not break, for you have seen every fracture. You do not fear, for you have met every monster in mind and refused its command. Rulers live strategically, the ruled reactively. They move first, even when still. They move with intent. Inner strength is hammered by trial, fire, resistance. Machiavelli, exiled, tortured, discovered. The world bows not to virtue, but to resolve. Resolve comes from within, not external approval. Adversity is crucible. When others retreat, the strong advance. When others weep, he recalibrates. It is choosing effective response, not feeling nothing. A prince does not lament, he recalculates. He does not surrender. He harvests despair for clarity. Enemies weaponize emotion. Respond with mastery. Separate control and chaos. You cannot command fortune, men, events, but you can command thought, discipline, posture. Therein lies your kingdom. Let others scream at wind. You adjust sails and reach shore. Forgiveness is sword in disguise. Choice. To conserve energy. Avoid entanglement. Remain focused. Forgive not from mercy but strategy. You are not worth my rage. Inner strength manifests through restraint. In a world obsessed with reaction, the man who pauses becomes king. Delayed gratification trades immediate for enduring. Legacies built not through impulse but patient warhorse, moving only when terrain favors. Communication is weapon. Undisciplined tongue invites escalation. Speak with intent. Silence commands more than words. Discipline extends to life. Delay ease for mastery. Flattery for truth. Comfort for conquest. Cesare Borgia was admired not for being loved, but for ruthlessly executing when needed, waiting when advantageous. Modern world seduces with speed, emotion, gratification, decision, but soul was made for depth, not velocity. Resist cultural momentum. Slow down. Evaluate. Restrain. Immediate indulgence breeds slavery. Power lies in choosing action, not reacting. Reflection refines discipline. Daily review. Act with intention. Kneel before impulse. Reward alignment. Punish treachery. Discipline is justice inward. Growth demands pain. Nothing valuable earned without cost. Soldier trains through wounds. Statesman grows through humiliation. Philosopher ascends in solitude. Masses retreat from pain. Sovereign mind steps in, draws from it, emerges tempered like steel. Acceptance is readiness, not weakness. Resistance wastes energy. Bend reality to design. Lose job, face betrayal, tides turn, do not curse fate. Thank it for chance to adapt. Respond with purpose. Begin next move before enemies believe you've recovered. Let them celebrate misfortune while you build in silence. Strike not with vengeance, but excellence. Simplicity is strength. In a world of excess, travel light. Not poverty, but clarity. Stoics shed what unnecessary. Machiavelli warned princes not to be bound by pleasures or riches that soften will. Reduce attachments. Possess what used. Value what endures. True riches. Discipline. Clarity. Freedom of action. Surround yourself not with flatterers, but truth. Circle must challenge, not comfort. Friends as alliances of vision, not emotion. Live according to nature, but sculpt it. Born not to obey instincts, but refine them. Act not as beast or slave to pleasure, but as ruler of self. Mastery begins within. Stoic legacy. Machiavellian refinement. Emotional sovereignty. Precision. Path carved like blade through stone. You are not here to blend in, but to become formidable, not through aggression, but presence. Not by dominating others, but by being unmoved, unbroken, unmanipulated. Measure of power worth pursuing begins within. The man who fears imaginary ruin, who trembles before the opinions of others, who shrinks at uncertainty, is defeated before he even moves. His kingdom is internal, and it lies in ruin long before any enemy arrives. What is fear but the illusion of danger magnified by weakness of thought? The well-trained mind, one that has studied both Stoics and princes, does not surrender to specters of what might happen. It demands clarity. It dissects fear until it is no more than a shadow cast by exaggeration. This is how rulers remain composed while their cities burn, not because they are heartless, but because panic is a luxury they cannot afford. To overcome fear, one must not flee. One must interrogate it, divide it into its components. Ask, what do I truly fear? Is it death? Then recall the ancients, who knew death is nature's decree. Is it shame? Then know that shame requires consent to exist. Is it failure? Then study the victories born from past defeats. Caesar crossed the Rubicon not because success was guaranteed, but because he refused paralysis. He moved forward when hesitation would have destroyed him. The path of power is never free of peril, but those who rise are those who move forward anyway. And shame weight tied to the neck of many is dissolved when one claims sovereignty over judgment. One man is shamed for poverty, another for ambition, a third for difference. In all cases, it is not the act that wounds, but the belief that another's condemnation is true. This is the poison, and self-sovereignty is the antidote. Decide what you stand for. Write your own laws. When honor is defined internally, outside judgments become noise. Shame originates in weakness, in craving approval, in avoiding scrutiny. But no great figure was born from comfort or fear of judgment. Spartans trained their children in hardship. Roman legions were forged in blood and frost. Machiavelli himself was exiled, stripped of title, tortured, yet he emerged unbroken because his worth was internal, not decreed by the court. To transform shame into strength, practice self-forgiveness, not the passive kind that excuses, but the kind that confronts the past and says, "Yes, I failed, but I am not finished." This is resurrection, not weakness. In politics, business, war, the one who rises again is more feared than the one who never fell. Fear and shame lose grip when exposed to reason. Write your fears. Speak your shame aloud in solitude. Make them concrete, and question their usefulness. If they teach, keep the lesson. If they weaken, discard them. Rule your inner world as a tyrant rules a palace with vigilance, without pity for those who would dethrone you. Stoics taught suffering is worse in imagination than reality. Machiavelli agreed but warned, enemies are real and always watching. The man who displays fear invites the strike. The one who walks with shame shows his back to the knife. Adopt the posture of strength even when trembling within. Over time, the posture becomes truth. You become what you practice. From fear and shame, move to foresight, the strategist's virtue. Many fail not because weak, but because surprised. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, anticipating possible evils not to become paranoid, but to be prepared. Machiavelli instructed princes the same. Anticipate betrayal before the dagger is drawn, unrest before the city erupts, misfortune before fortune shifts. Fortune punishes the unready. She favors vigilance. Do not wait for disaster to train your mind. Practice adversity in imagination. Rehearse responses. Envision outcomes. This does not weaken spirit. It fortifies. Soldiers drill in times of peace so no battle catches them unarmed. Premeditation is insurance. Imagine the market. You prepare for rain not because you wish it, but because clouds may gather. Life is no different. If a friend betrays, you will not falter. If business fails, you will not collapse. You have already constructed the next plan. This mindset transforms tragedy into inconvenience, silences panic, and grants calm where lesser men are undone. Anticipation requires embracing discomfort. Too many wait for perfect conditions. Unaware perfection rarely arrives. The wise act in imperfect moments. They adjust while moving, correcting without complaint. Consider Scipio, Hannibal, Alexander. They did not demand favorable terrain. They reshaped it. Flexibility is not weakness. It is superiority. Yet anticipation must be tempered. Some dwell too long in imagined ruin, paralyzed by options. Strategists are not paralyzed. They prepare, respond, and move with precision. They do not become cynical. They become tireless. This is how leaders are forged, not by ease, but through mental war games rehearsed in silence long before real battles commence. Even victories must be examined with foresight. Today's applause may be tomorrow's envy. Today's ally may be tomorrow's rival. Never let celebration dull the edge. The Romans placed a slave in triumphal parades to whisper, "Remember, you are mortal." Not humility, but preparation. The higher you rise, the more eyes watch for your stumble. Anticipation becomes instinct. When others react, you act. When others collapse, you brace. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. And clarity is resilience. You do not break because you have anticipated fracture. You do not fear because you have faced every monster in your mind and refused its command. This is the edge separating rulers from ruled. The ruled live reactively. The rulers strategically. They move first, even when still. They move with intent. Inner strength is forged in trial, fire, and resistance. Machiavelli, exiled and tortured, discovered the world bows not to virtue, but to resolve. Resolve comes from within, not from the approval of others or blessings of fate. The man dependent on external ease collapses when winds turn. The self-commander is unconquerable. Adversity becomes crucible. When others retreat, the strong advance. When others weep, he recalibrates. It is choice of effective response, not absence of feeling. A prince does not lament. He recalculates. He does not surrender to despair. He harvests it for clarity. Enemies weaponize emotion, provoke, tempt, bait. Respond not instinctively, but with mastery. Separate control and chaos. Fortune, men, events beyond command, but thought, discipline, posture within command. Here lies the kingdom. Let others scream at wind. You adjust sails and reach shore. Forgiveness is sword concealed in kindness. It is not mercy, but strategy. Conserve energy. Avoid entanglement. Focus on higher goals. Forgive a rival not because the act is just, but because it is beneath you. Inner strength manifests through restraint. In a world of instant reactions and gratification, the man who pauses becomes king. Delayed gratification trades immediate for enduring. Legacies are built not through impulse, but through disciplined patience. Harnessed like a warhorse, moving only when terrain favors. Communication is weapon. Undisciplined tongue is liability. Opens wounds. Invites escalation. The wise speak with intent. Silence can command more than speech. Speak to direct, influence, carve order, not release emotion. Words once spoken cannot be retrieved. Therefore, speak rarely, precisely. Discipline extends to all domains. Work delay ease for mastery. Relationships delay flattery for truth. Ambition delay comfort for conquest. Cesare Borgia exemplified this. Not loved, but ruthlessly executing when necessary, waiting when advantageous. Modern culture seduces with speed. Speed of emotion, gratification, decision. The human soul was made for depth, not velocity. Resist momentum. Slow down. Evaluate. Restrain. Every man giving in to immediacy becomes slave to what is loudest. Power lies in choosing action, not reacting.